last weekend, the UFC, have you heard about this, by the way? Have you heard about this fixed UFC fight? Yes or no?
No, I haven't, but I tried looking up a little bit before we started.
Well,
So
I'll just give you I'm giving the,
the
so I'll
Cliff
do
Notes
this as well.
version.
The reason why you didn't hear about it is because it was a fight at it was a fight at the Apex, which the Apex is the small like training facility there where they like will host fights like on a weekend or whatever. It's really like the diehard fans are tapped into it pretty much. Like
Yeah,
that's how I
Caden
would describe
definitely
it.
knows what it is.
100%. So last weekend, a UFC fight at the Apex, Isaac Dulgarian, I don't know how to really say his name, was a big favorite. He was a
Dulgarian.
-3 Bulgarian. He was a -350 favorite. There was an unusual amount of activity on the underdog on the other side of the fight, which led to him being like a -150 favorite at the time of the fight. The other prop that was being bet to win at a heavy rate was the guy to win, to the underdog to beat Isaac by submission in the first round. The independent company that tracks any unusual spikes in gambling went to the UFC, went to Dana White, and said, like, hey, there's some very unusual action coming in on this underdog right here where we feel like this guy should win. And there's a specific finish that people are betting on. We are going to flag this as like a potential like fixed fight. So what the UFC does and Dana White does at this point, they go back to the back, they talk to him, they say, do you owe anybody money? Do you is there anything fishy going on with this fight? Blah blah blah. He goes, nope, we're good, everything's fine. He then goes out, fights, loses by submission in the first round, and like it was like a shock. You could even hear the commentary team like actually being like live time, like being like, what the hell just happened? Like questioning the integrity like of that said fight. Now, days later, Ariel Hawani, which I don't know if anybody ever watches his podcast or not, he crushes. He's like live for like 5 hours a day, has tons of guests on, puts out really great content. Really love his stuff. He's amazing. He then goes on to report that multiple fighters off the record have approached him saying that they have actually been offered to throw fights like off the record. He didn't give any names or anything like that. Then after he said that and that clip circulated, multiple UFC fighters then went out on social media to confirm that, saying, I've actually had somebody come into the gym and offer me money and to throw a fight. Then 12 hours later, posts are deleted and they're coming out saying like, oh, I guess that's a bad time to make a joke. It sounds like a call was made to them by either Dana White or whoever that may have been, and been like,
probably Dana
delete
White.
delete this now and redact that statement. But I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, why would anybody just decide to go out and tweet that as like a quote unquote joke? So yeah, I think it's definitely, this one was crazy in my opinion, because they flagged it in live time and still like they pretty much had the book. And where I think that the UFC's in hot water in this is that their independent company warned them of what was going to happen. They said, hey, flag this fight. There's something weird going on here. Dana White then still goes in the back, talks to everybody, tries to figure it out, and then allows that fight to happen. Then what happens? Then he goes out, loses by submission in the first round, and confirms every single thing that everybody thought to be true. He then got released by the UFC the next morning, so it kind of probably confirmed more things as well. But you have to sit here and say, man, the UFC absolutely dropped the bag by not flagging this fight and saying like this isn't happening, because that would almost be like a victory lap at a point where it's like, look at what we did.
We got away with this.
Yeah. All the money that we pay this independent company to track all this gambling stuff, we caught somebody in live time and we put an end to this. now the UFC has a ton of shit on their hands now, letting this all play out. And I think that that's one of the I've never seen something happen like in live time like that, at least not that I know of.
The thing with like these lower level guys is like it feels almost significantly easier to find uh instances like this happening because it's not like a Terry Rozier where a lot of people know who that is. So there's probably less eyeballs watching these guys. So things stand out more in a fight like this where it's like that hyper specific of a bet being placed, large sums of money being placed on it is going to stand out more than like a bunch of people just betting on a Terry Rozier under. I remember uh, listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, like an older one, and he was talking about how before he ever got into like UFC and stuff, like before he legally started working for them, they would bet on fights, but they would still be able to watch them, but the books hadn't caught up to who was actually good. So there would be guys that were favorited in fights that were significantly worse than the people that they were fighting against. And that kind of like reminded me of this where it's like, yeah, these guys are so like so low on the totem pole, but the books are so much better at putting these lines out now that it's not like they're going to get something egregiously wrong in one of these fights to the point where they have a favorite and he's that heavy of a favorite and he's just that much worse than the underdog. Like that's not going to happen at this point in sports gambling.
No, probably not. And you think about it from like where it's like we don't have this much activity coming in on an Apex fight ever.
Exactly.
So like this one being it, like something's fishy, and like an exact way of a finish of a fight, that's fishy. The underdog getting that much money to move the line that significantly is fishy. So like the other thing, and you talked about how these guys are like accessible, like they can easily walk into a gym. If you think about like mid to low level, like college football or college basketball, you know how easy it is for somebody to walk up to a college basketball player at a mid tier school who doesn't have NIL money and look at him and be like, hey, you want to make an extra 50 grand? Don't grab that rebound at the end of the game. Don't do this. Don't do that. Whatever that may be. Like these guys are easily accessible, whether that be because I even thought that this would have been done like not in like over like DMs on Instagram. The UFC fighters who have gotten approached to fix fights have been approached via Instagram DMs. So like it's not even like that they're hiding like the fact that this is like a possibility. Like it's not like a highly sophisticated operation where people are starting to like where these games are getting rigged. I think it's sloppy imposters who think that they have an edge, who think that they can have this all figured out, who are just going to be get eaten up, chewed up, and spit out by the feds, and everybody's going to get caught. That's what everybody needs to realize right now.
Before you brought up the NIL part of it or like the college part of it, the thing that surprises me is that before the NIL, I'm surprised we hadn't seen this in college football because I can see an instance where the back or like the third string quarterback at Oklahoma gets approached by like a booster or somebody maybe and is like, or hey, like what's going like say like John Mateer, for example. John Mateer was injured for that 1 week against Texas for the Red River rivalry. And it didn't come out until late that he was going to play. But say a booster or somebody comes up to has a connection to the third string quarterback and is like, oh, like what's the deal with Mateer? Like, is he playing? And that kid's like, no, he hasn't practiced all week, but like we're keeping it under wraps. And that kid thinks
happens.
That kid's just thinking like, oh yeah, like I'm just talking to a fan. And then that booster goes out and puts 350 grand on Texas to cover and comes up big on it. And that kid like doesn't even think twice because he's just like, like I'm just talking to a fan.
I mean, realistically, that probably does. That probably happens every week. realistically.
every week. I think so. And I think that is like, that's like the gray area of this whole thing where it's like, did this kid was the intent of this kid to dime out his teammates almost and hook up this booster for a huge profit on a bet, or is this kid just like in a one-off conversation with like a family member?
In my personal opinion, if you're not getting paid off and you're just willingly giving that information, then that's like whatever. You know what I mean?
That's
if
fair.
Somebody comes up to you and is like, "Hey, brother, I'll give you 50 grand. Here's a piece of my winnings. Here's a piece of this." Then that's the gray area. That's where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's stupid. But like in passing, I'm sure that there's information that gets leaked every single day. It's not the CIA like in college sports and the NFL and the NBA and etc. What the difference is in all of this is the information that's leaked and then the information that is leaked on purpose for financial gain via gambling. That's the issue in all of this. So that's pretty much all I had on this, to be honest with you. I just wanted to highlight did you know all of this coming in, like of everything that I said, or like do you have a different outlook on it? Like anything that you want to add before we close out?
The other thing that I wanted to mention was I'm surprised that this happened in real time in UFC, because I feel like Dana White does like a pretty good job of like keeping of managing the UFC and running it like a well-oiled machine. And for this third party to come up to him and be like, "Yeah, we're flagging this," and for him to just have almost too much trust in his guys, it bit him in the ass. And I think my first reaction to this, if I'm Dana White, is like, okay, these people aren't coming up to me for every match. It's like, I should probably trust them here, right? Like, this is such a random one-off match that it's like, if I have this third party coming to me, like, I feel like I should trust what they're saying and shut this thing down before things get crazy.
I guarantee you that any time that the third party person comes to them again in a scenario like this, I guarantee you that the fight will be cut.
It should be automatic, because those third party companies aren't just going to try to shut down sporting events for no reason.
No, not at all. But they messed up. Do you want to talk about like we talked about the situation with Adam Silver, like conducting that investigation, like that should be something that is held against Dana White as well, where it's like, brother, like you also need to make very clear decisions in a situation like this, because now you're in hot water. Now, like, people are questioning the integrity of the sport. Now the police are investigating the UFC. And like you said, like, this isn't just a one-off thing. Like, there are probably instances of this that are so minute, that are so kept under the rug, that we might not have any idea that it has happened. But I guess we'll see that come out in months to come. So
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring it back, man, and take vision.